How's it going, YouTube? Um, Welcome back to another video. I'm not gonna lie, I've just been like doing a bunch of videos right now, like pressing record and then ending it and then deleting it, like just trying. It's not working. But I'm okay with that. Like I'm gonna keep trying. Um, you know, when you've left it for a while, you lose your rhythm and it's hard to get back to it. Um, so yeah, I kind of forgot like what my personality is on this like app, on this YouTube channel. Like who am I on this YouTube channel? Because um, you we tend to present ourselves in a very specific way um, on like a platform. You know, like me on YouTube is a very particular personality that may or may not be different than how I am in real life. You know, um, even your Instagram profile, even your TikTok, it's not really who you are. But we try our best, or at least I try my best. But it's like I kind of forgot how I approach these videos, who's my audience, all that bull crap. When you're an English major, you start to think about those things. You start to think about the grammar of your sentences as you're speaking. Like I start noticing that I'm saying things so wrong right now, but nobody cares because this is not an English essay. Or you start to think about like, okay, I'm doing a podcast, but who am I speaking to? Who are my vlogs targeted at? And initially when I started this YouTube channel, I was kind of like, I'm doing this to talk to my friends. Like I moved to another country, um, and I want my friends to see what I'm up to. So in my mind, I approach these videos as if I was talking to like my friends that I left back home, my childhood friends. Um, so I kind of speak to you know, to these videos, to this camera, as if my friends are the ones watching. And matter of fact, they do watch, so it kind of works. But you do kind of need like an imaginary audience at the back of your mind to kind of just know how to approach, what you're saying. Because if I was recording this to like, I'm trying to think of like my grandma first of all doesn't speak English, so she's not gonna understand a word I'm saying. So that would change. My grandma doesn't really care about the fact that I got like a cream cheese bagel from Einstein's with a coffee. She doesn't care that I drank matcha. So it's like audience matters, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, the topic of today's video is not knowing what the hell you're doing with your life, not knowing if you're in the right place, not knowing if you are meant to be doing what you're doing at this time of your life, feeling like you're going through an existential crisis at the very young age of 21, um, constantly questioning, what could have been, um, and, you know, I don't know how to deal with it, yeah. And one thing I'd like to mention is that I always do these videos talking about how to deal with these things, right? Well, I want to say that I do them for myself also. Like I talk about how to deal with it, but I myself am trying to figure out how to deal with it. So when I do these videos, it's kind of like I'm using this tool of making YouTube videos for me to remind myself how to, have things more figured out in my life, how to have more structure in my life and not crash out every 5 minutes. So when I come out here and say stuff to the camera, it's not like I apply this to my life, but I would like to apply this to my life. And I never plan my videos, so it's like it's a lot of it is brainstorming, thinking out loud. I could probably do a much better job. I could probably do this way more like professionally, but I choose not to. Um, but anyway, so lately I've been having those questions, and every day, you know, every day I'm like, damn, like I don't want to be here at all. Am I even fit for an English major? And then I think about myself like being like a high school teacher, and I'm like, okay, that sounds nice. That sounds fun for like a day or two, but like to have that for like 30 years, like what? I'm like, am I really like about to do that? Like, what if one day I just don't want to show up? And like, as a teacher, like, you kind of have to keep showing up. But yeah, there's all these things that might even fit to be an English major. Like, you know, what if I'm not in the right spot? Um, you know, what if I could, choose to like transfer to another university? What would happen? What would my life look like then? Would I be happier? What if I lived in a different country? What if I lived in a different state? Would I be happier? Blah blah blah. And all these things. And it even like ranges from those big life decisions to like more like a smaller life decisions like oh, like I took the wrong courses this semester. I shouldn't have taken these courses. That always seems to be my thing. Every semester I say I took the wrong courses, bro. That's such a terrible mentality because after I'm done with my courses, I'm like, those courses were great. But in the moment of taking them, I'm like, these are terrible. Like, like they don't go towards my major because I decided I want to explore a bunch of cool subjects, but I'm just wasting my time because none of it is going towards my major. Um, so holy shit, I'm messing up. So yeah, there's all these things going on in my mind of like I don't know how to make decisions and feel like these are the right decisions. So I feel like as I'm speaking right now, I do want to mention one thing that just popped up in my mind. You have to have some kind of faith in yourself, and you have to practice being more confident in the decisions that you're making. You have to understand that like you are going to mess up. Like you are going to, you know, maybe take courses that are gonna make you late to graduate, or you're gonna maybe even fail, you know? Maybe things happen and you end up failing. I've failed a lot in my life. Um, you're gonna maybe like make the wrong decision and not realize it until like years down the line. Like that is going to happen, that is bound to happen. There is no way of escaping it. Even when you're trying to be as smart as you possibly can, even when you're trying to, you know, really think things through with all the knowledge that you have, and not be spontaneous and just do things out of being spontaneous, you're still like not going to you know be perfect, or like you're not going to make perfect decisions. However, we all know based on our past experiences that there have been things in our lives where that went really well, and there have been things that have went really shit. And because we have this knowledge that things can go either really well or either really shit, we always want them to go well. But that is not the reality. So, I'm going to be completely honest. I am in a university which I needed to come to, in my opinion. In the moment of applying to universities in America, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no one helping me. And I applied to a bunch. I probably spent way too much money on college applications that I absolutely could have not spent. Um, but with the knowledge that I had at the time, I didn't know any better. I had no one telling me like you probably don't need to apply to like 20 colleges, because I wasn't aware that colleges are that expensive. Like, yeah, I'd look at the tuition and stuff, but I was like, oh, applying wouldn't hurt and maybe they'll give me a scholarship. I didn't do anything to get a scholarship. I just kind of like put in my application. Um, but I wasn't thinking it through because I didn't know that this is how it works. I didn't know how things worked. Maybe I didn't do enough research. Maybe I thought I was doing enough research, but maybe I didn't know how to do the right kind of research at the time. And I didn't know who to ask for help, all that stuff. So yeah, I ended up applying to so many. And like I applied to this university, UNC Pembroke, like one day maybe before like what's it called? Before the deadline. And it accepted me like the next day. And it was like the cheapest university out of all of them. And it was like if I had planned things through, I would not have spent like what $500 on college applications. I would have just applied to this one because I knew it was like the best option because it's the only option that I can afford, and I would have been fine. But I didn't know, and part of me wanted the curious, like part of me was curious of like, oh, am I like what would happen if I applied to all these other universities? Now I did have some other options, but this one seemed the most reasonable. But coming here felt like the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. Um, it is a town in the middle of nowhere, and that is one thing that I learned about America is that most universities are in very random towns. So, coming, somebody who's from Lebanon, living in the city, who travels to cities primarily, European cities and all that, it's very difficult to get used to a rural town in the middle of North Carolina in America. Like it's just so like different. And it feels like it's so far from everything um and just navigating that feeling of like living so far from home is like on its own extremely difficult. And it being a town like the town that it is does not help at all. So um so I knew that I had to be patient with that, with like being here. I knew that I had to give it a chance and try to make the best out of it. And there has been so much good out of being here. Um, what's it called? And it's like I needed to come here, but it got to a point where I was like, maybe I needed to come here, but maybe I don't need to graduate from here. Maybe I don't need to be here anymore. Maybe I've seen enough. Maybe I've done the growth that I need to grow in this place. And I have so much more knowledge on how to navigate universities now that like maybe I don't really need to be here anymore. And I have occasional crash outs of like, what am I gonna do? Like if I don't wanna be here, like how am I gonna move forward? How am I gonna, like where am I gonna go, basically? Um, so yeah, I don't know where to go from here. It's like I can't keep beating myself up for like coming to this university because I did not have any knowledge about this place. I did not have any knowledge about what it meant applying to colleges in America. So how was I gonna know like how to do it in the best way possible? Um, so it wasn't easy to come here. Like it took me, you know, having to beg my high school principal to send my transcripts, and she just didn't know how to do it properly. And I remember she was like really late to send them and all that. And it's like I struggled. I really did it on my own. I didn't have like an agency helping me or anything like that. And there were moments where I even questioned like, is it worth it to do all that training, to do all that running? Is it worth it? Do I really want this? So there's always going to be these questions of like, am I doing the right thing? Is this really what I want? Am I putting my energy in the right places? I think we tend to think that in the moment of things happening, we need to know everything, you know? And I say that about myself because it's like right now, in this present moment, I think I need to have all the answers, but I don't. And so I start to like crash out because I'm like, why don't I have all the answers? But sometimes you're not able to know how you feel about a certain thing until enough time has passed. And you need to understand that if you are in a place where you can't really do much change to it, it's out of your control. Like right now, I'm in this semester. I don't want to just pack my bags and leave in the middle of the semester and not get it done. So it's kind of out of my control from now until the next few months. But later on, I'm working on doing an exchange semester and all that. But from now till a few months, I have to sit with this feeling of like, yeah, I don't like being here, but I have to be here. So we don't really know where we're going. I think I have a vision of like, oh, I'd like to be a teacher one day. But I don't know if that's gonna be the reality in like 10 years down the line. Um, and I think we always have a vision in our minds of like an ideal life. And I'm learning that, this ideal life is so unrealistic to the point where it is only causing me more damage than anything good. Because if I am constantly comparing my life in this present moment to my ideal life that I've made up in my mind, then I'm never going to enjoy what I have in this present moment. And so you have to let go of that imagination. Um, Unless you want to work on, bettering your life, which is also a good thing, but to a certain extent. Um, Ask yourself why you feel, a certain way. Ask yourself if you had, an opportunity to make actual change, how would you make that change? Kind of try to solidify these things, try to put it in a list on a piece of paper. How am I going to change my life to the better if I were to have a better life? Maybe you have to make a major change in that moment. So try to think about all the pros and cons and all that, solidifying. And sometimes you have to understand that you just have to live with a certain sadness or a certain void that you have in your life. And you don't need to fill it with anything. So, because I feel like I have this huge emptiness inside of me in being in a place that I don't want to be in, I start to distract myself with going on my phone like 24/7. Any chance I get where I'm not doing work, I go on my phone, I scroll, and it's becoming addictive, right? It's filling that void. And I had to realize that I needed to stop, and that stopping was going to be extremely difficult because it was going to cause me to sit with my emotions and face those really, really difficult emotions. And every time that I haven't been on my phone for the past week, I just sit there and I just cry because I am allowing myself to feel. And even though it's so fucking difficult to sit with these emotions, it is so relieving. It's so important, and it allows you to kind of like, what's it called? Reconnect with yourself. You know? Kind of give yourself a reality check. And it's like you can cry about it for a while, but then you have to realize, like, okay, time to get back up and move forward. Everything is going to be difficult. I genuinely believe that, like, we are never going to reach that point of happiness that we think is possible for ourselves and our minds. However, there are moments of joy. Like, there are moments of pure, genuine joy. And I would say, like, just take care of those moments as much, like, just really feel them as much as you can. If you know that something gives you that joy, then try to, do it more often. Um, or maybe look for new things that might give you joy. Try to explore, you know, other things to do in your life, things outside of your routine. It's sometimes it feels like there's absolutely nothing. But do your research. Like, no matter where you are, you can always find something. Um, I think community is a big, big thing. It's really important. And I think no matter where you are, you can try to search for some kind of community to be a part of. People are always up to shit. People are always doing stuff, planning stuff. Try to find those people. Like, it might be a poetry club, it might be a clay sculpting. I don't know how to say that word. Um, it might be like, I don't know, bro, acting or filming. And maybe it's something not that cool because I'm listing some really cool things that I like personally. Maybe it's like a math club. The opposite of cool is like math. I'm just kidding. Math is pretty cool, but people are always up to shit. Like, just go and try to find people to talk to, try to meet new people and all that. Um, what else do I want to say? Yeah, sometimes you just gotta accept that life is pretty shit. Like, there's no way of escaping it. Um, there's things that you can do to try to understand why life is shit, but at the end of the day, you have to sit with yourself and realize things are just not that interesting. Sometimes things have to be just boring and dull and repetitive and whatnot. What matters is, like, deep down how you are with yourself. Whether you have a spiritual faith, that sometimes helps. But at the end of the day, you know, what really messes with our minds is the fact that we are on our phones looking at how other people live their lives every single day, and we are constantly comparing ourselves to them. Or, like, you go out and you go about your day and you're like, why does everyone have their life figured out except for me? And that's such a beautiful concept, because I bet you everybody thinks that about each other. We are all experiencing imposter syndrome, but we don't really know it. um, Sometimes it looks like somebody has their life figured out because you have no idea, what they're going through. You don't know anything about them, so from the outside they look like this perfect, picture perfect lifestyle. But that's only because it is uncertain what their life is. It is the unknown. Anything that is unknown seems like the perfect thing. When you first meet a person, potential lover, that beginning part is the most, like, beautiful, happy part, because you don't know anything about them. So you're like, oh, they're perfect. But it's yeah, evidently you realize that, like, nothing is as pretty as it looks on the outside. Things always just, look perfect when we don't know anything about them. So it takes a lot of practice to stop comparing yourself to other people on social media. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't think I will. I think as much as I, like, tell myself I shouldn't, evidently I always will. Um, so I need to practice how to make my life feel like it is enough, even when it is so still and so boring and so, you know, yeah. Buy plants, great. It feels great. Do things that just feel okay. Like, reward yourself with things like, fucking, I don't know, bro. Fucking read a book. Oh, I don't have time, bro. Just read a page a day. You can make time for a page a day. Try to learn a new language. It's like, replace the act of scrolling with Duolingo. Fuck that, bro. It never works. But it's slightly more, productive and healthy. So if you can learn a few words on Duolingo, instead of scrolling for like 2 hours, then fucking go with Duolingo. It sucks. It's like, oh, all I want to do is scroll. But really question how much you're relying on scrolling to give you pleasure. You have let it consume your life and you're not even questioning it. I say that to myself. So yeah, I think I'm done with this video. Goodbye, guys.